But we're going to get started with some aeronautics and physics experiments, because if we're going to be talking about space exploration, we need to talk about physics, particularly aerodynamics and how things move around in the air. So we're going to start by discussing air pressure. But Lightning Lily said to me the other day, hey man, these are little kids. They don't know what air pressure means. Do you know what air pressure is? I know she really does. But air pressure is the weight of the air. And air pushes down on us if you're at sea level with the same strength as about 2 full-grown elephants. Now I know you're saying, I don't feel like I'm being squashed by 2 elephants, Radical Rob. But that's because air pushes evenly in all directions. When we start to manipulate or think about the way air pressure systems can change, we can create suction, we can create or predict changes in the weather, or create flight in airplanes or kites. In fact, I'm going to show you a really simple experiment, but we're going to require these. Ooh. Now, you might have these at your home, but don't use them for this experiment. I promise, these are brand new, I think, and clean. Don't go do this experiment with your plungers at home. But these are, in fact, plungers. And if we look and examine, you might see something. What do you see in that plunger? Did you hear him say air? Absolutely right. Most people say, oh, there's nothing in that plunger, but there is air. This space inside of the plunger traps air, and that's how a plunger works. If we want to create suction with a plunger, we need to think about manipulating the air and the volume, the amount of air that's in there. And we can change the pressure. In fact, can I borrow that for a sec? Awesome. If I put these 2 plungers together, I've created a little space, a little shape. And there's air inside of that space, right? Mm-hmm. And is that air pushing outward? Yes. Absolutely, right? And there's air outside of that space, right? Yep. And it's pushing inward, right? So we've got a nice equalized pressure. But what if I take this and I squeeze the air that was in there out? Do I have the same amount of air inside of that space? No. No. So I have a different amount of pressure being exerted outward, but the same amount being exerted inward. And so we create something that we call suction. And this is how plungers work, right? And they're stuck together. Good. Now, if I were to pull them apart, we'd actually hear the change in pressure cause a sound as the air rushes back in here. Let's listen. Shh. 3, 2, 1. Ooh, nice. One more time, one more time. 3, 2, 1. Oh, very good. Awesome. We'll take our round of applause now. That was pretty awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I'm just going to put this away right here. What are you doing? She's in so much trouble. Now, if we think about air pressure, there are many, many scientists that have examined air pressure over the history of mankind. In fact, there was a very famous one named Daniel Bernoulli, an Italian physicist who came up with the idea that the faster a gas flows, the lower the pressure it creates. Can you see them out there, Lightning Lily? All confused? They're like, huh? Well, basically, that means if we make air move very fast, we'll create a low pressure system. And this is the idea that firefighters use when they're fighting fires. They think about that. It's called backdraft. And part of the idea that helps planes to fly. In fact, I'm blabbing too much. Maybe we should just show them. Do you want to grab the windbag? Some people call me a windbag, but that's not funny. However, this is our windbag. And you can see, it's a pretty long plastic bag. Now, if we were to blow air into this bag, how many breaths do you think it would take us to fill up this whole bag? You have a guess?
20.
20? 100? 1,000? We definitely don't want to do 1,000. I don't want you. Yes, no, we don't want you passing out. That would be bad. How about we do this? Let's give Lightning Lily 10 breaths to see how big she can fill up this bag. All right? So I'm going to take one end, and I'm going to go over here. And then, Lily, you pulled the bag out of my hand. How dare you? Okay, now, Lily, hold the bag! Don't fool around! You're embarrassing me in front of the whole world! All right, so I'm going to stay over here. We're both going to try to stay on screen. But you guys can help us, all right? We're going to count all the way up to 10. And every time we say a number, Lily's going to blow her breath into the bag. And once we hit 10, she's going to grab the end and squeeze it and see how big she blew up the bag. You ready? Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hey, let's see. Oh, look at that. She just... You are so disrespectful! She blew the bag up pretty well. It's about a third of the bag, right? It's almost, it looks to me like it's a cobra and you did the head. However, I'm the bigger person with the lab coat here. Would you believe me if I told you I could blow up this whole bag with 10 breaths?
No.
No, you don't believe in me? How dare you?
No.
How about if I said 5 breaths? Do you believe I could do that?
No.
No.
You guys don't trust me at all. What if I said I could blow up the whole bag or come pretty close with one single breath using Bernoulli's principle? Would you believe me?
No.
Oh no.
Let's switch jobs, Lightning Lily. Lightning Lily's gonna grab the closed end of this bag and pinch right over here. I'm gonna grab the open end of the bag and come way over here. And here we go. You guys were pretty good at counting up for her. Can you count backwards for me? Let's go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back. I didn't quite get the whole bag. See, that single breath, I blew up almost half the bag. This time, I'm gonna ask Lily to go off camera because stretching out the bag will help me use Bernoulli's principle. And I'll take that air out of there. We'll try one more time. Watch very carefully and see if there's something different about the way I'm blowing into the bag than the way I asked Lightning Lily to blow into the bag. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Big round of applause for Lightning Lily. She did that. And look at all that air. And look at my lungs. Do you think that all that air came from my lungs? It doesn't even seem possible that that could all be from in there. And it did. By blowing a quick-moving stream of gas, we used Bernoulli's principle to not only blow air into the bag, but to grab air from around where I was blowing, create a little jet stream that pulled air into the bag. In fact, you can feel it right on your hands. If you blow on your hands, do that right now. Not only are you pushing the air from your lungs and your mouth, you're drawing air in right behind and using Bernoulli's principle to make a lot of air move. Think about that the next time you're blowing out birthday candles. All right? Very nice. That was pretty cool. Now, talked about air, right? So let's see how all this air pressure stuff applies to flight and aerodynamics. Okay? Rockets use powerful engines and hot fuels, hot burning gases to create a force called lift or thrust. But we're going to use just my regular old breath and this thing right here. You guys know what that is?
A balloon.
Very good. Give me thumbs up for the balloon. You guys are so smart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to blow some air into the balloon. And now we've trapped some air in here. So it's exerting pressure here, right? It's being held in there because what am I doing here?
Holding where it could get out.
Absolutely. I'm pinching it. Do you want to pinch it for me? Sure. Okay. Hold it tight. Don't let it go until I tell you. Because the end of that balloon has a little nozzle. And it's a small space. So if Lightning Lily does release it, then that gas is going to come out. And don't be gross, Johnny Argon. That's my friend Johnny Argon playing 2 clips. So if that gas comes out, what we'll see is that the balloon will create thrust, a force called thrust. There's 4 forces that affect flight. Lift, which is the force that sort of pushes things upward. It has to fight against the force that pulls things down to the earth, which is what? Yes, gravity. Very good. Oh, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. I heard them saying it though. And then we've got the force that pushes things forward. That's called, well, what we're going to see here, thrust. And if forces that push back are called drag. But let's focus on thrust. If Lightning Lily lets that balloon go, do we have a hypothesis what's going to happen? It's probably, I see you counting down, Lightning Lily. Hey, I should ask you, do you have a hypothesis? If you hold this balloon out and you let it go, where will it go?
I think it's gonna go.
Ah, she predicts flippantly blibbly flight. All right, well, you want to do it? Let's do another countdown. 5.
Excellent.
3, 2, 1. Oh, oh goodness. I think that just hit the hamster. All right. So we couldn't really control that flight. It was cool. We created thrust, but in rocketry, you don't want to just create thrust. You want to control thrust, right? If we're going to space, we want to know that we can control the flight. So let's try this again. We're going to get another balloon, but we're also going to set up a racetrack. And this is another experiment that you can do at home. You're going to need your grown-ups' permission and maybe a little help, because we're going to set up a balloon rocket racetrack. Lily's actually going to hand me a spool of string. And maybe can you bring that chair that it's connected to a little bit closer? Got some groovy rocket music. Now, I don't know if you can see. Lily, can you hold up the straw? We've already threaded a straw through this string. I got another chair right over here. So now, that is kind of going to serve like something we call a launch lug and help us control thrust. We want to know where this rocket's going to go, right? And by creating this track, well, we'll definitely know where it's going to go. It's going to go across this track. And instead of just flying flibbly-blibbledy like the last one, perhaps you have a hypothesis. Do you think we know where it's going to go? Let's see. All right, so Lightning Lily's blowing up the balloon. I'm going to grab my piece of tape. So in addition to your string, your chairs, your balloon, and your piece of tape, well, actually, you'll just need yourself. That's pretty much everything that you'll need. So we'll take some tape, and we'll tape the balloon here. Actually, let's put the balloon underneath. Let's point the nozzle at you. Because we know for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So, our friend Isaac Newton taught us that. So if the nozzle is pointing that way, we should see an equal and opposite reaction of the balloon going that way. Should we check it out? Here's the straw, our balloon. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Whoa! That was awesome! You want to try it one more time? Blow it in real quick. Okay? Ooh, let's see. It's all taped on there now, so it's hibbly-bibbly.
Oh, yes,
Awesome.
it's very nice, sir.
Perfect. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thrust. Wow, that one was cool. Give her a big round of applause. So that's a really cool experiment that you can do at home. But I have another one that you can do at home. And I mentioned before at the beginning, we sent you guys some documentation. So if you've got this model rocket sheet beside you, you might want to pull it out and work alongside of us right now. If not, that's okay. When we do mad science rocketry in our after-school programs and parties, we build really cool model rockets like this. But guess what? You don't need a really fancy-pants model rockets kit to make a model rocket, because we know stuff about science. So we're going to show you how to make a cool model rocket with some stuff around your house. Toilet paper or paper towel roll rockets. All right? You can see here's a few that we built before. But what you'll need to do this is a little paper towel roll. So you can pull that out. You will need some, oh, you grabbed your fins. Very good. You will need some fins. So we're going to cut our fins out from a 3x3 inch piece of, I'm using cardstock. You could use paper, construction paper. And I'm sorry, I'm using inches for those of you who use metric, but there we go. I'm an American, what do you say? So, along with that, you might want to have some glue and some tape handy. Did you grab the tape? Oh, you've got some glue sticks though, that's cool. All right. I had some Scotch tape. I actually had some shipping tape, but we can use some masking tape over here. And we're going to need some templates, okay? So the templates you're going to create yourself, all right? There are multiple parts to a rocket, about 5 to most model rockets. We're going to focus on 4 of them today, all right? And we're going to start with the tippity top, the nose cone. The nose cone of any rocket is designed to be sleek and aerodynamic. It allows the air to push around all sides and the rocket to fly as fast and as quickly as possible, all right? So in order to make your nose cone, you're going to need to make about a 4-inch circular cut. So find something that's about 4 inches. I actually used my masking tape roll to create some templates, all right? So mine's a little bit larger than 4 inches, all right? But what you're going to do is create that 4-inch in diameter circle, and we're going to put a little slit. You can use a ruler to measure from the center of your circle and measure the radius, the line that goes from the middle to the edge of your circle. And you're going to make a cut just like that. Here, I'm going to try to do it in a spot that you can see. There it is, the purple is nice and cool, all right? So when we make that cut, it allows us to sort of bend it together. And look, you can tape and secure what looks like a nose cone, all right? Here, I was going to give you this nose cone, but look, Lily's already started on the fins. So you can start with the fins. The fins provide stability or balance. I know most fins help fish to swim, but our rocket's fins help it to fly straight and even. And that's going to be important. So you'll cut out your nose cone. I've already cut 2 out. I'm going to cut this one out. And then you'll cut out your fins. I'll show you how to cut out the fins in just a second. But you can see Lily's going in a different order. You can go in whatever order you want. As long as you have all the necessary parts of your rocket, right? The fins help to give it stability. The nose cone helps provide aerodynamics, all right? So this is the nose cone. These are the fins. What do we think this long part is called? Any guesses? If you said body or body tube of the rocket, you're absolutely right. The body of the rocket has the same job our bodies have. Hold the whole thing together. And a lot of times on real rockets, it carries fuel. So we're going to connect our fins to the bottom and our nose cone to the top. So I'm gonna just grab that. You have tape. So you can see Lily's working on her nose cone. Hold it up nice and high so that everybody can see. I'm working on my nose cone. Very nice. And Lily's gone ahead and put 2 fins on her rocket. Now, I would recommend that you guys use at least 3 fins, because 3 fins will provide good, stable, balanced flight for your rocket. Or you can use 4. Honestly, you could even use a few more. But typically, rockets will have at least 3 fins. So look, that's a nice little nose cone attached to my body, and my fins are down here. So Lily already had some pre-cut fins, but I'm going to show you how to make your fins at home. And again, this is all on your document. In fact, you have a second document if you're paying close attention, and we're going to show you about that, because that second document has even a third document that has another really cool little rocket that we'll show you. But to make the fins, you're going to take this square and you're going to cut it right in half, just like that. If I cut the square in half, what do I get? 2 triangles, right? So now I take my 2 triangles and cut those in half. And once I do that, 4 fins. Check it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then to mount your fins, you want to bend back, I'm going to use metric now, about 1 centimeter's length. So confusing, hopping back and forth. All right? So that you create this little ridge. You gotta hold it like this. Let's see. Can you see that? So it creates a little ridge, which Lightning Lily has gone ahead and pasted or taped onto the bottom of the rockets. So you can use either your paste or tape, however you want to, okay? But you'll make some really impressive fins that way. Now, there's another part. I'm just gonna show you, because you can do this if you want. But many rockets have parachutes. Parachutes are responsible for recovery. When a model rocket returns to Earth, it comes back down via gravity, right? Gravity's pulling it back down to Earth, so we don't want our model rockets to crash down to Earth. and a parachute helps provide drag. So you can get a sandwich baggie like this one, or a coffee filter or paper towel. Cut it into a parachute shape, however you want. It's up to you, all right? And if you attach it with string and insert it into the body tube of your rocket, well, you've got a pretty sophisticated looking model rocket. Now, I mentioned one other sheet that you guys have access to, and it looks something like this. And you can see Lightning Lily's already gone onto it. I'm gonna hold it up real close, I'm sorry, there we go, okay? This is a sticker sheet, all right? And if you don't have sticker paper, I actually happen to have sticker paper. And if your grown-ups have sticker paper, you can print this on sticker paper and then cut out stickers so you could actually decorate your rocket. I've actually put a couple on mine here. Lightning Lily's gonna come close and show you some of hers. But you can go ahead, print up your stickers, cut them out. She's coming into the foreground. How dare you upstage me? Awesome. And you can make a tall rocket like that. If you've got short tubes, short rockets are awesome too. You can make lots of different rockets. In fact, all these designs, all these designs that we're sharing with you, you can absolutely and should absolutely come up with your own variations. That's what STEM is all about. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, all about coming up with multiple ideas, multiple ways to attack a problem, all right? Figure stuff out. And last but not least, I told you, right, at the bottom of your sticker sheet, there's one more link. And that link is actually, here, Lightning Will, grab a straw, to a special lesson from NASA. Our friends at NASA wanted you guys to have something you can actually launch. It's cool to have a nice demonstration rocket, right? But there's a lesson plan for a little paper rocket that you can build with just a little piece of paper, some straw, a straw, and a pencil. And you can create the body tube by wrapping this around a pencil, wrapping this paper. You'll create a nose cone by pinching it and taping it off. It's even got a template for fins. Look at that. I got 4 fins on this rocket. And check this out. If I blow into this, we're going to use all that air pressure that we talked about to create force. And the action of the gas being redirected this way will cause the equal and opposite reaction of our rocket flying this way. Oh. How dare you! Sit down. Oh, awesome. Oh, that one a little tight? Switch that one. No, much better. Wow, this has been awesome. Have you had fun? I've had fun too. And the fun is not over, but I think we have a couple of questions for our friends out there. Did you have a question for everybody out there?
Okay. My first question is, raise your hand if you've ridden a bicycle.
Ooh, wow. Look at all those hands. That's almost everybody. Okay, cool. Okay, I have a question. Raise your hand if you've ever done a science experiment. Oh, look at that. Everybody too.
Whoa.
Wow. I'm sorry, I thought you lost me for a second. Okay? One last question. Okay? So we know everybody's ridden a bike, everybody's done a science experiment. Raise your hand if you've done that in space. Oh, wait, I don't see. Oh, I see people with, well, I only see one person with their hand up for all 3 answers. And you know what? That's our very special guest. So ladies and gentlemen, we're about to enter our Q&A portion, and Lightning Lily has our first question for our special guest. We'd like to introduce to you retired NASA astronaut, Barbara Morgan.
Hi, everybody.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So the first question I wanted to ask was, how easy was it for you to adapt to zero gravity?
Well, Lily, that's a great question. And before I answer it, I just want to thank you and your dad for that marvelous, marvelous science presentation. It was awesome. I learned a lot, and I've got a few new tricks up my sleeve, so thank you. And I also wanted to say hi to all you young scientists out there who joined us today. This is such a treat to get to be with all of you from all around our lovely planet. So thanks for letting me participate today with you all and my favorite science organization, Mad Science. So how long did it take me to get used to microgravity? Was that your question, Lily?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a really good question. Can I answer it by telling a little story?
Sure,
Of course, yeah.
Okay. So we blasted off into space, and we were in space in about 8.5 minutes. And one of the first things we do after we get into space is turn our space shuttle into an orbiting laboratory. Or in our case, we were also building the International Space Station, so we were getting ready to dock with the International Space Station. I wanted to make sure, because a lot of folks, especially if they're a first-time flyer, can kind of get a little sick when they first get into space. When you get into space, there is no up or down. You're in a free fall orbiting the Earth, so you don't have the feel of gravity. There's no up or down. But your inner ear is saying, hey, there's no up or down. But your eyes are saying, well, here's the ceiling of the space shuttle, and here's the floor of the space shuttle, so this must be up. So your ears and your eyes are really confusing your brain because you're getting mixed signals. And that's why people can get sick. So I was very, very careful at the beginning. We had a lot of work to do, but I made sure that I didn't do a lot of rapid head movement like this and move around. I made sure that I kept my head at the ceiling, towards the ceiling of the space shuttle, just so I didn't confuse my eyes anymore and my ears. And I was doing fine. And then it must have been about 3 or 4 hours into our flight. We were doing a public affairs event with the ground, with the media on the ground. So, so my crewmate, Scott Kelly, and I were hanging there waiting for the satellite to come into location so that we could talk via the satellite to the people on the ground. And while we were waiting there, I, for the first time, had time to just experience and think about what I was feeling like in microgravity. And I had an enormous shock. I thought I was upside down, even though my head was towards the ceiling of the space shuttle. I just felt like I was upside down. You know how when you are on the monkey bars and you hang by your knees and you hang upside down? That's exactly what I felt like. And I thought, well, this is pretty interesting. I wonder if I'm going to feel upside down for the next couple weeks while I'm in space. But after about 3 days, my body got very, very used to being in space. And that's when it got really fun, because that's when, no matter where your head is, that becomes your new up. So if your body is facing this way and your head is towards the wall, that feels like the new ceiling, and the other wall feels like the new floor. Or if you're actually upside down with your head towards the floor, that floor becomes the new ceiling, because you don't feel like you're upside down anymore. And that's when space becomes very, very natural feeling and a lot of fun.
Wow, thank you. Awesome.
So we actually received hundreds and hundreds of questions from all of our guests out there. So we're going to try and get through as many as we can. Our first question comes to us from Christian in Michigan, and it's probably going to help us learn a bit more about you. They wanted to know, at what age did you decide you wanted to be an astronaut?
Well, thanks. That's a great question, Christian, and hi, Michigan. You know, when I was growing, first of all, I want you to know I am so happy that all of you young boys and girls are growing up now in this time, because the world is absolutely open to you. Anything you want to do, if you put your mind to it and work really hard, you can make those dreams come true. When I was your age, this was many, many years ago, it was not open for girls. So when NASA first started and we first started sending people into space, it was all guys, and it wasn't something girls did. I grew up at a time when girls could either become nurses, teachers, moms, secretaries. So it wasn't even it wasn't even open to me. But one of the really neat things about learning and going to school and getting prepared as best you can, you're going to find that all kinds of amazing opportunities will come your way as long as you keep your doors open and don't stop yourself and don't say, I can't do that, I can't do that. Say, I can do it, I need to learn it because I want to learn it. And that's what happened to me. It was way many, many years later, and I had this opportunity knock on my door to be a part of NASA and become an astronaut. So it wasn't something I thought about as a little kid. I loved science and I loved space exploration, but I didn't see any place for me in it. That came much, much later in life.
Thank you so much. So our next question, we're going to be switching gears a little bit. This was one of our top questions. We got so many. A lot of kids are concerned about astronauts' hygiene in space. So they're concerned about, how do you take showers? How do you wash yourself? How do you wash your clothes? Maverick, specifically in Welland, had a specific question about something that starts with P and ends with oop.
Okay.
Which I might not say on the call, but maybe you can tell us a little bit what it's like living in space.
You bet. And of course, everybody, I'm proud actually, everybody, although they're afraid to ask that question, everybody wants to know how you do your business in space, right? So first of all, thank you so much, all of you, for caring very much about hygiene. And I think you're even learning more about how important it is, especially during this crazy time that we're living in with COVID. So I'm glad you're staying safe and healthy. It's really, really important. In space, we don't have showers. We don't have a bathtub. Think about it. If you're in microgravity and you let water out, is it going to fall to the ground like in a shower, or is it going to stay in a tub? No, it's going to float everywhere, right? Because everything floats in space. So we can't really take a shower or a bath, but we certainly stay clean. And we have on the space shuttle, we have a spigot, a hose with a little attachment on the end, and we'll get a washcloth and get it wet. And we also have a little bag, like our food bags, that we actually had a little bit of soap in it. And we would add water to those bags and get some nice soapy water. And water is amazing in space. Adhesion is so much stronger for water in space than it is here on Earth. It wants to stick to everything. So you just let a little bit of that soapy water out of your drink bag. You can actually let a little water out of that spigot and put it towards your face or towards any place in your body that you're washing. And that water will just start smoothly smearing about and sticking and moving around your face. So it's pretty easy to wash yourself up, basically like taking a sponge bath. Showering, I'm not showering, but shampooing. We shampoo too. We'll put just a tiny bit of shampoo in our hair, a little bit because it doesn't take much, and then we'll just add a tiny bit of water and mush it all up, and we've got towels right there ready to go, and we just dry it off with our towel. And as you can imagine, my hair wouldn't be like this because gravity wouldn't be holding it down. It would be sticking out everywhere. How do you go to the bathroom in space? The answer to that is very, very carefully, because again, you don't want anything floating around. So our liquid waste, our bathroom on board the space shuttle had a hose, and it was attached to a fan, and everybody had their own attachment piece for the end that you put against your body. You turn on that fan, you let your liquid out, and it gets sucked down that fan and into a container where it gets held. For number two, or your solid waste, we actually, at the bottom of the potty, we open up a little valve that exposes that inside air that Rob talked to you about earlier. That air escapes, and you get a little vacuum, so there's no air in there. And when your number two gets pulled away from your body and down to the bottom of that can, it freeze dries. And so it's no longer going to cause a problem because it's freeze dried and stuck down there.
Excellent.
Yeah, I know it's kind of gross, but you want to make sure you're not floating. So you can't really sit down on the potty and stick to it, right? So we have these handlebars that come up and we set them down on top of our thighs, and that holds us down. So we make a real tight seal on the potty.
Thank you so much for that. Okay, our next question comes to us from Raghav in North Carolina, who wants to know, what does it feel like when you blast off into space? And specifically, if it feels like a roller coaster.
All righty. Great question. And again, it's so much fun getting to meet with all of you from all over United States, Canada, and the world. It's just wonderful. So when you're launching, you've been working really hard. You and your crew have been working for many years. And then the last year, especially, you're working on your mission, and you actually launch pretty tired. So, and once we suit up and we're sitting on the launch pad, we're on our backs, ready to launch for about 2 hours, while our launch control team is doing all the last minute, everything else that needs to happen to make the space shuttle safe to launch. And then when it's time to go, we go. So first the main engines, the 3 main engines light. If there's any issue with those, we can shut those off, and the computers will shut them off. They're fed by liquid fuel that's in the big orange tank strapped to the side, liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. That's not enough power to get us into space. We need about 7.5 million pounds of thrust, a lot more than that air in that balloon that Rob and Lily had for you. So strapped to the side are 2 solid rocket boosters. And once those light, there's no stopping them. That solid rocket fuel cannot be stopped. So that's when we leap off the launch pad. On the solid rocket boosters, there's a lot of shaking going on. So it's a pretty rough ride, and it's very loud. Nothing that hurts or anything, just it's loud and rough. And we are accelerating so fast that by the time we clear the launch tower, and you can see this on videos if you watch any NASA videos of the old space shuttle launches, but as we clear the launch tower, you're already going about 100 miles an hour. That's really fast, isn't it? You don't want to drive that fast in your car. But guess what? We're going to keep accelerating faster and faster and faster until we are going 17,500 miles an hour. 17,500 miles an hour. That's a really fast speed. And in fact, that's 5 miles a second. So if you can think of some place that's about 5 miles away from your house, maybe talk to your parents about it, come up with 2 places that you know that are about 5 miles away from each other, and imagine getting there in exactly 1 second. That's how fast you're going. So it's really a push. We experience 3 Gs, or 3 times Earth's gravity, so you feel really heavy. You kids that may weigh about 50 pounds, 3 times 50 is 150. Yep, you're right. So you're going to feel like you weigh 150 pounds, and it's going to be really hard to lift your arms up. And you're going to feel like you have this enormous push on your back, just pushing you into space as fast as can be. And it's a really fun ride. All of us inside are whooping and hollering and saying, woohoo, because we've been working really hard, and it's a great fun ride, and we're really excited to be getting into space.
Thank you so much for that answer. So we have a lot of kids wondering if it's cold in space, and then if it's cold in space and you have to wear an astronaut suit, is your astronaut suit really hot? We have Advika from San Francisco asking specifically, why do you have to wear an astronaut costume? Why can't we wear our own choice of dress when we go into a rocket?
Okay, these are all excellent questions. So let's start first with being in space. When you are traveling that 17,500 miles an hour I talked to you about, you're traveling around the Earth at that speed. So you are going, it takes you exactly 1.5 hours, 90 minutes to travel around the planet. So you get 45 minutes of day when you're on the daytime side of the planet, and 45 minutes of night when you're on the nighttime side of the planet. So 45 minutes a day, 45 minutes at night, 45 minutes a day, 45 minutes at night. When we are outside, first of all, inside our space, our rockets and our spaceships, we can control the temperature just like you can in your house. We have air conditioning, a type of air conditioning. So we want to keep our inside of our space shuttle at about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. And sorry, I'm not converting that to Celsius for you folks overseas and in Canada. But you can do that because I know you know how. So it's just a normal room temperature that we keep. So we don't get too cold or too hot when we go on the sunny side of the planet or on the nighttime side of the planet. But yes, when you are on the sunny side of the planet, it's several hundred degrees, 300 more degrees Fahrenheit, really hot on the sunny side, and minus 300 or so degrees Fahrenheit on the dark side of the planet. So when we send our spacewalkers, the people who go outside and do we call it an EVA or extravehicular activity or a spacewalk, their spacesuits also have cooling and heating in them as well. And so do their gloves. So when they're going over to the nighttime side of the planet, if they're outside in their spacesuit, which has lots of protection in it, we'll always remind them, okay, you're coming up on nighttime, so they'll quickly adjust their gloves to turn the heaters on in their gloves so their hands don't get too cold, so they can still work. The question about what we wear, why can't we wear whatever we want to? Well, you want to be as safe as you possibly can. And one of the things that you have to worry about in a space environment that's a little harder to take care of than it is here on Earth are fires, right? You don't want to be in a fire situation and you want to protect yourself. So inside the space shuttle, first of all, when we're flying our airplanes, we'll wear these flight suits like you can see me wearing now, my NASA flight suit. This is a special material called Nomex. And it's what firefighters wear and what pilots wear and what astronauts wear. So it does not burn as quickly as our regular street clothes kinds of fabric that we use. It's got a special protection on it. So when we're in space, the pants that we wear have this Nomex fabric. We do tend to wear regular shirts, and again, depending on what we're doing. So, and then of course, when you're launching, you need to be in a pressure suit, because if you lose pressure on launch, and this has to do back with what Rob showed you with air pressure, you need to have air pressure on your body. So those suits that we launch in, we call them the orange pumpkin suits. Or if any of you just watched the Crew Dragon launch this week with Dr. Bob Benkin and Doug Hurley on the Crew Dragon test flight, their white suit that looked so sleek and handsome and everything, that was also a pressure suit as well, with very special fabrics to keep the astronauts protected.
Thank you so much. I think we only have time for one more question, and I think this is a very important question. A lot of kids want to know, what does it take to become an astronaut? And the follow-up question to that, it was a specific question of, do you really need math to become an astronaut? Like, really, really need math? Do you really need math?
Do you really need math? Well, let me start by saying yes, but you don't really need math just to be an astronaut. You need math for anything you do in life. Math is all around us, and it's so much fun and wonderful. So just, look up in the corner of the room you're in right now. You see some angles, you see some corners, that's math. That's just one example of so much math around us everywhere we look. Do you cook? No. Do you measure? That's math. Math is all around us. And as you can tell, I love math. In fact, my favorite job on the space shuttle was flying the robotic arm to move big pieces of equipment around and our astronauts around on their spacewalks while we were building the International Space Station. And I think the reason I loved that job so much was because it was math in action. It was really, really fun. So it wasn't just sitting and doing math problems on a sheet of paper. It was actually using the math in my head to be able to fly that space shuttle arm. So yeah, math is important no matter what you do. And if you are one of those kids, and I hope you're not, but we have a lot of folks who say, oh, I'm not good at math. Well, guess what? That just means you haven't learned it yet. because everybody can be good at math. You just have to learn it. And it's like learning a language. And if you think about it, whatever language you learn, whether English is your native language or English is a second language and you have another first language, how long did it take you to learn your first language? You know, were you born speaking, or did it take you quite a few years to learn how to speak and that language, and then even more years to learn how to read and write? So think of math as a language. It's going to take time, and it's just as important as your native language that you speak and read and write. And for those of you that have second languages and third languages, that's even better. So all of you think of math as at least your second language. What does it take to become an astronaut? First of all, I'm so excited that this is something you want to do. You have such a world of opportunity open to you if you are interested in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So you can go for any job you want to do. You could be Rob and Lily giving programs for kids, and Jennifer and Lauren helping kids learn this really, really fun stuff. That's one example of how to use your STEM degrees that you might get when you go to college. My advice I can give you is it takes a STEM degree, so you're going to want to get a degree in math or science or engineering. Takes lots and lots of schooling. In fact, the average age of the beginning United States astronaut is about 35 years old. So think about that, 35 years old. So they've done a lot of college and a lot of learning, and then a lot of college, and then they also go work and learn more in a STEM job, whether it's at NASA or Canadian Space Agency or European Space Agency or private companies or universities. There's so many different paths. Military, there are just many, many different paths. And I think the thing that distinguishes all of those people are a couple things. They have a passion for learning. They love learning. They're very curious. So you're always curious about learning new things, and you're willing to work really, really hard and not give up, even when it gets really, really hard. And they end up in jobs that they really enjoy doing, so they do well at them. And then they apply, and they apply again, and they apply again, and they apply again, and they get lucky and get selected. So that's how to become an astronaut.
Thank you so much for that last beautiful message. Thank you so much for joining us and for sharing all of your experiences with us. Before we say goodbye, we have one more really cool thing to do. We do have a giveaway. So we're just going to head back to Radical Rob and Lightning Lily and see what we have going on over there. And we'll say goodbye to Barbara in just a couple of seconds.
Thanks so much, Barbara. That was awesome. So at the beginning of the broadcast, I told you this is our Loop Lab box, and I'm just going to read a little bit about Loop Lab. Loop Lab's our STEM subscription box with 3 amazing boxes available, and it's available in the U.S. only typically. But guess what? Today, any contest winner could be from anywhere. So if you want to have more mad science fun at your home, visit shop.madscience.com to order the amazing STEM products and these are delivered right to your door. So if you're social distancing, you can get Loop Lab right at your door. You got everybody's name in there. Lil, can you just reach in there and tell us who our winner is?
Yeah, drum roll.
Apparently we can.
All right. Congratulations, Jean Nicolo from Florida.
Wow. All right, Gene. We're going to be contacting you right after the event. Expect to hear from Mad Science so we can get you your Loop Lab box, all right? And just like Lily showed before, it's full of tons of cool stuff. Thank you so much for being part of the event. I'm going to throw it back to Jupiter Jen. Bye from New York from Radical Rob and Lightning Lily. We hope you had a great time.
Thank you all so much for joining us here today. Look out for more events. Definitely tell us if you want to see more astronaut talks. We didn't get through all the questions. We wish we had all the time in the world. But if you want to see more of this, if you want to see more of Mad Science, if you want to share your rocket pics with us, you can post pictures on Instagram. And thank you for being with us here today at Mad Science.
Bye-bye, everybody.
And to Jen and the Mad Science team, and to everybody, Rob, Jupiter, Jen, Radical Rob, Lightning Lily, I'm forgetting Lauren, the entire Mad Science team. Thank you so much. And to all you young scientists out there, thanks so much for spending time with us today. I love meeting you online. I wish I could meet you in person. Stay safe, stay healthy, keep reaching for the moon. The sky is no limit. Take care, all. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. That was awesome. We'll see you next time, guys.
Bye.
Lily's gonna go use her hoop lab box.